Some issues regarding proxy, testamentary disposition, and Vows. In connection with the Hajj 85, according to Imam Shafi, it is a condition that the person acting as a proxy for Hajj must have previously performed Hajj on their own behalf. However, for us Hanafis, this is not a condition. To avoid the conflict between these two different opinions, it is more virtuous to send as a proxy someone who has previously performed Hajj on their own behalf and is knowledgeable about the rituals of Hajj. Furthermore, slaves may perform Hajj as proxies with the permission of their masters, and wives may do sulfur monoxide with the permission of their husbands, provided they are accompanied by a male relative. However, it is disliked, makruh, for women to perform the Hajj on behalf of others as a substitute. This is because their Hajj is inferior to that of men. They may not raise their voices during the talbiyah, nor may they perform certain Hajj rituals, such as Remo and Hervel. 86 the throne, certain Hajj rituals such as Remo and Hervel. Proxy spends the employer's money while traveling to and from on mounted transport, avoiding wastefulness and excessive strictness. He returns any remaining funds to himself or his heirs. However, if the commander or the heirs who are legally obligated to pay give this money to the deputy and grant power of attorney by saying, any amount left over from this shall be yours, we have donated it to you, then the deputy may accept this money as a donation in his own name. 87 the proxy may remain in Mecca after the Hajj and perform the Hajj in his own name with his own funds the following year. However, returning home after the Hajj is more virtuous. 88. Even if the money given to the proxy as expenses is lost in Mecca or a nearby location, or is completely depleted, and the proxy spends from his own property, he may estate and recover the amount he spent, provided that it was not due to his own negligence or intention. 89. If a person obligated to perform the Hajj sets out for the Hajj in the very year they become obligated, but dies before completing the Hajj, they are not required to make a will regarding the Hajj. They will receive the reward according to their intention. However, if they have delayed their Hajj, they must make such a bequest. If they fail to do so, they commit a sin. 90. If a person bequeaths 1/3 of their estate for the Hajj, and this amount is sufficient to cover several Hajj pilgrimages, the following applies. If they have bequeathed it for a single Hajj, it is used to perform one Hajj, and the remaining property is given to the heirs. However, if the testator has not explicitly stated that only one Hajj should be performed, then, depending on the amount of money, several Hajj pilgrimages may be performed over the course of one or several years. In this case, the executor has discretion. However, since it is preferable to act promptly regarding worship, it is better to have these performed within 1 year. 91. If an heir of a deceased person performs the Hajj in the name of the deceased, using their own funds to claim a state whether or not the deceased left will, the following applies. If the deceased had bequeathed that the heir perform the Hajj in this manner, then this Hajj is permissible on behalf of the deceased. However, if nitrogen monoxide such bequest was made, it is not permissible, and the heir cannot receive this amount from the estate. It is considered the heir's own donation. 92. Whether or not the deceased has left a will. If his heir performs the Hajj in the deceased's name using his own money without drawing on the estate, this does not fulfill the Hajj that was obligatory upon the deceased. However, according to some scholars, it does fulfill the deceased's obligatory Hajj. 93. If a deceased person has not bequeathed that a specific individual be sent to perform Hajj on his or her behalf, the person appointed as the executor may perform the Hajj personally as a proxy, rather than sending someone else. 94. If a person bequeaths to one of their heirs a specific amount from their estate to perform the Hajj on their behalf, that heir may not perform the Hajj after the person's death unless they obtain the consent of the other heirs. The property bequeathed is included in the estate. 95. If a person appointed by the deceased heir to perform the Hajj on the deceased's behalf in a specific year receives the travel expenses but does not perform the Hajj that year and instead performs it the following year. It is permissible on behalf of the deceased. They do not have to reimburse the expenses. 96. If a person appointed as a proxy by the executor on behalf of a deceased person falls ill during the journey and spends all the Hajj funds they received, they do not ask the executor for money to return home. However, if the executor told the representative, if your money is not enough, take a loan. I will pay it back. This is valid. 97. If a deceased person, while still alive, bequeathed 10 gold coins to a specific individual, 10 gold coins to the poor, and 10 gold coins for the Hajj, but 1/3 of the estate amounts to 20 gold coins. This 1/3 amount, 20 gold coins, shall be divided equally among those 3 recipients. Then, the amount allocated to the poor shall be added to the amount allocated for the Hajj. If anything remains after the Hajj has been performed, it shall be given to the poor, because it is better to fulfill what is obligatory first. 9.8. If someone says, let this be my vow, I will perform the Hajj for the sake of Allah, or if such and such matter is resolved, let this be my vow, I will perform the Hajj whether in an absolute, unconditional, or conditional vow, such as, let this be my vow, I will perform the Hajj for the sake of Allah, or if such and such a matter is resolved, let this be my vow, I will perform the Hajj. They must perform the Hajj unconditionally in the first case and upon the fulfillment of the condition in the second case. This is because such vows are among the causes of obligation. According to a sound narration from Imam al-Azam, one cannot be released from the obligation of this vow merely by paying the expiation for an oath. According to Imam Malik as well, a person who has vowed to perform the Hajj must fulfill this vow. According to a narration from Imam Shafi, a person who has vowed to perform the Hajj is free to choose. If they wish, they may perform the Hajj in fulfillment of their vow. If they wish, they may pay the expiation for a broken oath. According to another narration, only the expiation for a broken oath is required. 99. If a deceased person bequeaths 1/3 of their wealth during their lifetime to be spent on zakat, a vow, Hajj, and other purposes, and this wealth is insufficient to fulfill all of these obligations, the following is considered. If these are obligatory worships, such as zakat and the obligatory Hajj, the obligatory worship mentioned first is performed. However, if one is obligatory and the other is a vow or a supererogatory act, the obligatory act is given priority and carried out. If one is a vow and the other is a supererogatory act, the vow is given priority, even if the vow was made before the obligatory act and the supererogatory act was made before the vow. 100. If a vow is made saying, let this be my vow to Allah, I will go to the house of Allah or to the Kaaba or to Mecca, then Hajj or Umrah becomes obligatory. The one who makes the vow may choose which of these to fulfill, making a vow such as, for the sake of Allah, I will go to the Haram, or the Masjid al-Haram, or the Mosque of Medina, or the Masjid al-Aqsa, is not valid. According to Imam Azam, this is because there is nitrogen monoxide tradition of adopting such a form of worship. However, a vow such as, I will go to the Haram or the Masjid al-Haram, is valid according to 2 Imams. One must choose between Hajj and Umrah. 101. According to the prevailing opinion, one who vows to perform Hajj on foot must travel on foot from one's home. According to another opinion, one must travel on foot from the place where one enters, Ihram. If they ride a vehicle before performing the tawaf of visitation, they must offer a sacrifice. 102. Traveling by mount to protect one's life and avoid fatigue on the pilgrimage journey without it being a vow is more virtuous than traveling on foot. However, some argue that for those capable of walking, performing the Hajj on foot is more meritorious. 15. the deputy appointed by the commander must have performed the Hajj on behalf of the commander. Accordingly, if A, commander states, no one else but so-and-so should perform the Hajj on my behalf, and that person is made to have the Hajj performed by someone else, whether while alive or after death, this Hajj is not valid on behalf of the commander. However, if the commander does not make such a specific designation saying, not someone else, but only so-and-so shall perform the Hajj on my behalf, let so-and-so perform the Hajj on my behalf, then, in the event of that person's death, the Hajj may be performed by another. Likewise, for a person who bequests that the Hajj be performed in their name without specifying anyone, upon their death, their heirs may gather and send a man of their choice as a naib to perform the Hajj. 16. Both the principal and the proxy must be Muslim, of sound mind, and capable of understanding the requirements of the Hajj. Therefore, just as a Muslim cannot appoint a non-Muslim as a proxy, nor a non-Muslim a Muslim, a sane person cannot appoint an insane person as a proxy, nor an insane person a sane person. A child who cannot understand or distinguish how the Hajj is to be performed cannot be appointed as a proxy. 8. For a person may perform the Hajj on behalf of their mother or father without their explicit instructions. This is because it does not constitute guardianship or agency. It means dedicating the reward of the performed act of worship to them,